on in and have a seat. We'll get started. I am feeling a little bit scattered today, probably with good reason. I left my house to come here, and about a mile, only a mile, thankfully, down the road, I realized I'd forgotten to bring my alb. And I thought, well, they probably have an extra one, but just to be sure, turned around and went back again. Not until I got here did I realize that I'd also forgotten my own laptop that had this program on it. I had it on a jump drive, but this is Brian's, so I'm grateful. Don't know where my mind was this morning, but not where it needed to be.
So I have a question. This is off the record, but I know some of these people are dying to know what the difference is between an alb and a surplus.
An alb and a surplus. Okay, so this is an alb, and all of these things come from like 3rd century Roman attire, and it is the name alb is. Comes from the Latin. Like if you think about the albumen of an egg is the white of an egg, that same root word. So it represents the baptismal garments, which is why it's always white like this. And it's basically a robe that's just tied, and any liturgical minister can wear that. A surplice is usually what you see on top of a cassock. And the cassock, a lot of cassocks are black, but I've seen, do we have blue here? We have black here?
Yes.
Okay.
Only clergy has black.
Okay. A lot of places choir will have black too, but yeah.
They do have black.
But I've also,
I'm sorry.
I've also seen choirs with blue or red or whatever cassocks underneath, and those are the ones that button all the way up and down. An Anglican cassock has 39 buttons for the 39 articles that the church used to abide by. And well, thank goodness we don't still abide by those 39 articles too much. And then the surplice is the white drapey thing over top of that. It's what you see angels in a lot of paintings and stuff like that. But it has big sleeves. An organist will have a particular surplice that gives them more ability with their arms to move around. Some surplices have extra long or wide sleeves. I have one that I got right after just before I was ordained from England, and it has the really wide sleeves in it and stuff like that. And some of them are just plain, and some of them have lace or something else on them. Does that help?
Yes.
So they just have, I'm not sure why we've decided to stick with 3rd century Rome, but we have, and it's part of what we do here in the liturgy. So.
Actually, everybody else knew that, but I didn't.
Thank you for asking. Great. All right, well, we're going to continue with our Advent series here, Advent in Poetry, Art, and Music. And last week we talked about poetry. This week we are going to talk about music. Art. Get myself in the right frame of mind here. So, and I have to remember it's a separate clicker here. Okay, so just a review, a number of you were here last Sunday, but just a reminder, when we think of Advent, we think of these themes oftentimes. It's a time of reflection. As Vern said, I think in his sermon, that there was a time when Advent was looked at as very penitential as well. Several hundred years ago, it was seen as very penitential. I think, or maybe it's just my own personal opinion, it's become much less penitential, but it is reflective, and it's still about turning back to God and focusing on God. It's also this, and there was a phrase during the service I also wanted to remember, but it's also this very expectant sense of something about to happen, and we don't know exactly what. Waiting with anticipation, because God's going to do something, and because it's God, we know it's going to be great. It's going to be for our good. It's a season of hopefulness that things are going to change, because we're not where we're supposed to be in much of anything, but there's a hope that God can redeem everything. I talked about expectant, and there's this sort of hushedness to it. And there's also hiddenness, and we're going to talk about that in just a second with the first piece of art, that something is about to be revealed. And then, of course, redemption, that Advent is our looking forward. Yes, it tends to get confused with looking forward to Christmas and the birth of Jesus again and everything, but it's really about Christ coming again into this world and Christ redeeming the whole world. So So that's what we're really looking forward to in Advent. Any other thoughts about what Advent is about for you? How you live through it or into it? Yes, waiting for your sight to come back. Yes, and I have to say I was very sympathetic to was it Melissa Godwin when she came up with her boot on, because I don't have one today. Monday was my last day to wear it. So yes, there's redemption in all sorts and waiting in all sorts of kinds of ways for that. Anything other thoughts about what Advent is about? Okay. I'm sorry. Preparation. Yeah, thank you. That's an excellent word. Preparing ourselves, preparing collectively as the body of Christ for this coming again. Yeah, thank you. I should have put that word up here. Yeah, right here. Faithfulness. Yeah. Right. About what we don't know is about to be revealed, but being faithful to the fact that it's something good coming from God. Yeah, thank you. Anybody else? Okay. David may be wanting us to use the microphone when we have a chance, so that people who are tuning in from someplace else can hear us. So we'll try to keep that in mind as we go through the comments. Okay, there we go. So the power of art. So art, like poetry, I think all of these are art. It's a little unfair to distinguish between poetry, art, and music, but because it's all art of one kind or another. It's all artistic, creative expression. But when I'm talking about art, I'm thinking more of tangible or performance art, but paintings, sculpture, anything like that. And like poetry, art can express what we are thinking or feeling, but in a way that is not limited by words. And what came to mind when I was writing that in here is Romans 8:26. Oh, thank you. Where Paul writes, "Likewise, the Spirit helps us in our weakness, for we do not know how to pray as we ought, but that very Spirit intercedes with sighs too deep for words." And I think that's what gets expressed when a lot of artists at one time or another have said something like this, I have to wait for the muse to emerge or whatever for the art to express itself. There's no, well, I'm going to paint a painting of a church today. Well, there may be some of that, but really the art is the expression that burst forth because it can't be contained anymore, I think, in most artists. And it's with those sighs too deep for words, but it might be able to be expressed in music notes or color or whatever. How can the Spirit work through art as well as poetry and music to help us pray? That's a question for you. How can the Holy Spirit work through art, however you define art, to help us pray? There's no right answer, so just whatever occurs to you.
When words don't come, drawing may come.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I'm a doodler,
Uh-huh.
and while people are talking, I'm just doodling, and then all of a sudden it becomes something that may have come from your words.
Right. Wow, that's cool. Anybody else?
Would icons be an example?
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking about, is praying with icons that are seen in the Eastern Church. Icons are seen as a window into heaven, and a way of focusing. Some people might use the flame of a candle as well, but of a way of meditating on a particular image to be able to talk to God. Hold on. Wait for the microphone here.
Okay,
Got it. There you go.
I'm sorry. Art may be an individual expression for that person as they are journeying with not only themselves but with God.
Yeah, yeah. I think Mary.
it might be a conversation between the artist and the person who is viewing the art, because you're seeing what you see and
Right.
perhaps what the artist saw, so there's a conversation.
I love that. That's nice. Yeah. I was thinking about visual journaling in between the two of you talking there, and where you set an intent and then you allow, and you often do it with crayon, to let that inner child speak, because that uninhibits us. Is that a word? It lets us be more free to be able to have that conversation. So yeah. Mark back there.
Yeah, art is not a gift I was given, so I'm still painting by number.
Works great.
But I say that to be funny, but also that my brother sent me this picture of a John Deere tractor. This guy up in Sparta has a bunch of tractors in a field. They were just sitting there in this amazing 1926 John Deere tractor. And I found out, he sent me the picture, and I found out that there's a company you can send the picture to, and they send you back a paint by number.
Oh, wow.
And that's what I'm giving him surprise for Christmas.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Right over here.
I think sometimes, I love to see the art that someone else has done in that conversation Mary mentioned, but I think there's also something to practice and to moving our bodies in prayer. I remember as a kid, it was like, well, sit still, cross your hands, and go. And then you learn about a labyrinth, and you learn about the carpenter who every swing of a hammer is praying, and there's also the intention of moving the body and doing something so that there's more expression, and just doing it,
Right.
doesn't have to be good, but you're just doing it.
Right, speaking through movement.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Right here.
I think one of the neat things about art through art in Christianity and especially this time of Advent is this primal urge to share with the world what you've created and use this art to teach. This is in the chapel that at the summer camp me and my friend here go to every year. There's this incredible back wall filled with icons, and every time it's just so it's just the most incredible thing, because it's this giant back wall lined with so many icons, and it's very not inspiring. It's very, I don't know what the word is. It'll come to me eventually.
Soul satisfying.
Yeah, it's satisfying, and it's very. It gives me some urge to. I don't know. It's a very prayerful space, I guess.
I love that. And I liked your, the phrase you used at the beginning, the primal urge, because I think that art does speak to that. No matter how refined it may come across, it still speaks to a primal urge within us. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I think that, art, whether you consider it a painting or drawing, sculpture, performance art, whatever it might be, it uses, just like poetry, it uses carefully selected language, but language is not restricted to words, mind you. It also uses that absence, that blank or white space on a page, if you're printing a poem, that can be as important or as effective as the words that are printed there. But I think in art as well, it helps us see the world anew through the hands and the heart and the eyes and everything else of the artist, whether the lightness and the darkness, color or lack of color, contrast, texture, images, or abstraction. I've always liked the artists who were trained in the classical ways of painting or whatever, and I did a paper on Mondrian back when I was a SCAD student. And he was very traditional in his painting of a cow when he began. It was a cow in a pasture. And then gradually through time, he morphs, some of you will recognize that name, he morphs into those vertical, horizontal black lines and the yellow, blue, and red rectangles and squares that he does in his paintings. And it's still a cow. And it's amazing how that can happen. But I think that artists are able to make those transitions. Whether it's realism or impressionism or something else, the world with which the artist works can convey so much. When we use art to pray, we come to it seeking meaning, but sometimes like poetry, and I think this was said by several of you, it doesn't have to be a literal meaning, and we sometimes maybe have to step aside of our own preconceived ideas of what we think it is and allow the art to speak to us. What we draw from it may or may not be what the artist intended people to draw from it. When I write my sermons, I'm a manuscript sermon person, as you may have noticed last week, and I was taught at Swanee to write a focus statement, which is like, what is it that you want people to walk out of here and be able to say that they heard? And the function, what is it able to do? And so that's what's behind what I write there. Now, whether or not any of you come out of here with the same thing that I intended is a whole different issue. But so I may or may not perceive the same thing in a piece of art that I am partaking of. Art, like poetry, can invoke emotional responses in us. Have any of you ever stood in front of a piece of art somewhere and just, you had that lump in your throat and you couldn't speak because it was just so powerful? Anybody have an example of what maybe triggered that in any of you? Yeah, right here. Yeah, Guernica, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Picasso's Guernica, which is
Yeah.
about the bombing of a village in Spain.
Yes, about the Civil War there, yeah.
Mark Chagall's The Village and I grew up on a farm.
Oh, wow.
And it's been some time since I've read about his intention with that painting, but I remember my reaction was like, ooh, I totally missed that in terms of what I experienced and then what he was experiencing when he painted it.
Right. I'm a Chagall fan. I understand that, yeah. Anybody else? Anything that, Vern? Oh, back here.
I had the opportunity to live next door to the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston when I went to law school.
Wow.
And when I was this was not a, oh my God reaction. This was like a peaceful reaction. My first year exams, I went over and they were having an exhibit by Jean-Francois Millet, which is
Wow.
all this lovely impressionistic pastoral scenes. And rather than, oh my God, it just made, oh my God, I feel so relaxed.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Poetry can help it. I'm sorry, keep reading because I have liked poetry. Art can help us question our assumptions, but it also broadens our horizons, or it can at the same time. And it's an exploration when we are participating in art. Either we are creating art or we are participating by means of enjoying it and being present to it. It's an exploration of ourselves. It's also an exploration of our world and our beliefs about this world. So yeah, art is very powerful. All right, let me move to our first. Can you see that okay? All right. This is a painting called The Virgin in Prayer by Giovanni Battista Salvi de Sassoferrato. It hangs in the National Gallery in London, and as I gave a disclaimer at the beginning of last week, I don't consider myself a poet or much of an artist or a musician, so my material comes from other places that I'm conveying to you, and some of this comes from St. Paul's Cathedral in London. Sassoferrato was, his dates are 1609 to 1685, and das Sassoferrato means he's from the village of Sassoferrato, which I had to look up for my own curiosity. It's about a 4-hour drive due north of Rome and east of Siena, if you've been to Italy. I'm seeing a map in my head right now. And it's a little bit closer to the eastern coast of Italy. He painted this particular painting. Remember, his dates are 1609 to 1685. He painted this painting sometime between 1640 and 1650. So I'm going to be quiet for a moment or two. I want to know, after the silence, what do you notice? Don't try to analyze it. I just want to hear what you notice about this painting. What do you notice?
The angle of the light.
Light? The use of light, yeah.
that the light's coming from above because of the shadow, and the blue, which I think represents Mary
Right.
most of the time.
It does.
I noticed downcast eyes and the head covering.
Yeah, I had a similar reaction to Kathy in that I noticed the head covering, to me it looks like kind of heavy and just overall just a lot of fabric there.
Yeah.
To me, with the black background, she is a light shining in the darkness.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. Thank you. How does this particular painting speak to you of Advent, or does it? It may not. But if it does, how does it speak of Advent to you?
I'm just always struck by the fact that Mary said yes,
Yeah.
and rather immediately, and I just think it's powerful to picture her pause.
Yeah. Yeah. She may be.
She's waiting, and it just speaks to me of serenity.
Uh-huh.
I was just going to add calmness.
Yeah. That's an important thing in Advent that we don't take enough advantage of. Maybe I should put that first person singular rather than plural. But during this hectic season that just is such a frenzy all around us, the patience and the stillness and the calm and the prayer. Anybody else? Mary?
I was drawn to her hands.
Mm-hmm.
It of sorts defines what she's doing and how she's carrying herself in prayer and in faith.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Are there
To
any
me,
map?
there's a slight smile on her face. And I'm wondering, if this is like moving beyond the fear
Ah.
to experiencing a little bit of joy and anticipation.
Oh, I love that. That's nice. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that, her smile, but it is just a trace of it, perhaps. Is there a Mac person here who could help me scroll down in the notes for the... Does anybody use a Mac?
Step up, step up.
I'm not quite sure that the down arrows don't scroll down. I want to...
So if you come over here and then 2 fingers.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Now that you did that, Brian did say use 2 fingers to... Okay, thank you so much. All right. So... Still not... You had the magic touch. So the idea of waiting, listening, reflection. We, 21st century Americans in particular, are bombarded with fleeting images, endless notifications. Someone was talking to me this morning about, I guess it was Beth, your senior warden, was talking about her phone was out of commission for a few days, and like how many times she reached for it. And it's like, we're just bombarded by all of these things, thousands of words a day, perhaps more, relentless consumption of data, most of which seems to be bad news because we know if it bleeds, it reads, kind of thing. So we often find ourselves consciously or subconsciously looking for reassurance that good wins, that God actually is in charge and our hope is not in vain. And I think that this painting speaks to all of those things. It somehow, at least for me, it reaches that level, and several of you mentioned similar things. It provides this profound counterpoint to our tumultuous times. And I'm not sure there's ever a generation that hasn't been tumultuous, but it certainly seems like it is now. This painting is like that still point. Mark or someone mentioned this stillness in it. It's an anchor and a way to, a place of focus and peace for us. It's an understated simplicity to it that also makes it very, I think that brings a depth to it that it wouldn't have necessarily otherwise. Sassoferrato is a master of light, which is very popular. He's painting in the Baroque era. And I think of Caravaggio, which preceded him by just a little bit, when some of the paintings like Emmaus, the meal at Emmaus and things like that, I think of Caravaggio and his use of light. And he preceded this guy, Sassoferrato, by just a little bit. But Sassoferrato, that's what he's known for, is his use of light. And it is sort of this beam of light coming from above, coming down almost like a sunbeam on her and providing light. And then, of course, those heavy folds of fabric and the shadows and everything. Very vivid colors. Doesn't seem to be a wide palette, but very vivid colors in here, which also increase the depth of the power that it has. And we are invited to witness, but not disturb, this sacred encounter. I think you talked about her, I think you pointed out that her eyes are downcast, and so she's not meeting our gaze. She is presumably, maybe she's looking down the floor. Maybe in her mind's eye she's seeing this baby that is going to come about. We don't really know. Her youthful features, her gently clasped hands in a prayer position, the serene expression, all evoke kind of this sense of a quiet surrender to the mystery of what is happening within her, what God is doing through her. And she's waiting for the birth of this promised child. She doesn't engage with us, like I mentioned. And it could be understood as an invitation to us, or a suggestion for us, a little stronger than an invitation, to also avert our eyes in this season of busyness from all the sparkly things out there that are vying for our attention, and to avert our eyes to a more quiet place. And that may just, that each of us has our own way of doing that in this holiday season. But to get away from all the distractions. There's a sense of humility, I think, a trust, peace, trust in God, and trust, again, in what cannot yet be seen. This painting encourages us to do Advent differently. So maybe in your mind's eye, you can take this painting with you as you go back out into the world amidst all of those things that the community around us is engaged in. Advent invites us to find the peace, just like Mary is in this painting. I think let's move on to the next painting. How are we doing for time? Once again, I'm not allowing enough time for the art project. Okay, wait a second here. Here's our second painting, and many of you will recognize this. This is one of many The Peaceable Kingdoms painted by American artist Edward Hicks. This one hangs in the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. Edward Hicks's dates are 1780 to 1849, so about a century and a half, 2 centuries after Sassoferrato. Hicks was a Quaker painter turned preacher in Pennsylvania. And so 1780 to 1849, the last 29 years of his life, from 1820 to 1849 when he died, he painted more than 100 versions of the Peaceable Kingdom. And there are at least 60, there are more than 60 that are still in existence. And he kept coming back to it for a reason that we'll get to in a moment. So just having said that, I want you to, again, take a few moments to look at this. I'll be quiet. And I want to know what you notice in this painting. Am I in anybody's way? What do you see? What gets your attention? Yeah, right here. Right here. There you go.
The domestic animals with the wild animals.
Yeah, yeah.
And the blue opening of the blue sky.
Yeah,
and-
mostly cloudy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that beautiful tree on the left,
mm-hmm.
maybe a ginkgo.
Could be. Yeah. Thank you. What else do you notice?
I see the lion lying down with the lamb.
Uh-huh.
Excuse me. Even with all the animals, domestic type and ferocious type, I always, for some reason, notice the trees in the sky.
Huh. Okay.
The sky is cloudy on one side, but the blue is coming in. You see the tree in the background and the magnificent tree to the right as
Yeah.
I'm looking at it. And for some reason, I always notice the trees in the sky.
Yeah. The blue is coming in. I like that phrase, that what you noticed. Oh, sorry.
The first thing that struck me, and of course, like everybody in the room, you know, seen versions of this painting before, but with this one, it was the use of like a gold coloration, and it's as if without being gilded,
Sorry, did I do that?
without being gilded, it's like conveying a golden gilded setting.
Yes, thank you. And right now, it's conveying a dreamlike setting that you can hardly see.
David's doing it.
Okay, great. Okay. He did. Oh well.
I bet
All
he's
right.
fixing it. I was gonna say, you know, aside from the again, the predators
Mm-hmm.
seem to be making the strongest eye contact. I don't know if that means anything, but it feels like they're the ones, like the lion and the, I guess, cheetah or tiger, whatever it was, are very much looking at the observer. Even the cougar or whatever she's holding still feels a side eye, but all of the domestic animals are looking away with their backs toward the predators. I don't know what that means. I just noticed it.
It might mean that they trust him.
It might mean, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll come back to that in a second. Yeah, Vern. Vern back.
Yeah, I was struck by that too, and it almost looked like you were being invited or that you were entering into the peaceable kingdom, and the animals were bearing attention to you as you walked
yeah.
into the peaceable kingdom.
Well, that's neat. That's a neat idea.
I felt like they were almost protecting. See, I almost got it as like a little bit of a threat. I like the invitation, but I felt it was like, okay, they're watching. These are the protectors. They're got an eye on whoever's trying to enter this peaceable kingdom.
Right.
I don't know. Either way.
Anything else? All right. So it's an allegory for Hicks. Every 100 paintings that he did, every one of them is an allegory of the spiritual and earthly harmony. And if you'll notice, you may not be able to see it from where you're sitting, but right in the middle, slightly to the right of the middle of the bottom, it says Isaiah, and it's actually the Old Testament reading that we had last Sunday. It's Isaiah 11, 6-9, and it reads, "The wolf shall lie with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. The cow and the bear shall graze, their young ones lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox. The nursing child shall play over the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall put its hand on the adder's den. They will not hurt or destroy on all my holy mountain, for the earth will be full of the knowledge of the Lord as the waters cover the sea." So that's the verse that he illustrates in every single version of this painting. And it speaks to what all of you have brought out. In 1820, there was a major schism in the Society of Friends, Quakers. And in this painting, it's symbolized by that split tree in the upper right-hand corner. And some of them it's more visible than this one, but or more dramatic, I guess. But Hicks's desire for peace between the various factions is represented by all of these beasts, the domestic and the predators or the wild beast all together. He wants all these, I don't know that he ever said who the wild ones are and who the domestic ones were, but the idea of wanting them to be at peace with one another. And for Hicks, and I found this interesting, I didn't know this, the lion and the ox, which I guess are sort of the biggest ones there, but the lion and the ox are symbols of redemption. I have not heard that before, but what it made me think of are the four evangelists and what they're represented by. I see Vern shaking his head. Mark is the Gospel of Mark. Mark is usually seen as a lion. Luke is usually seen as an ox. Matthew is an angel, and John is an eagle. I looked and looked. I didn't see an eagle in there, but it might be in one of the other versions. But for him, the lion and the ox are redemption. And I don't know exactly why. I don't know what it is about the personalities or the characteristics of those animals. But this is what he's trying to convey. And notice how that draws your eye to the center. That redemption is right at the middle of what is there. And you'll notice that, as the waters cover the sea, there's the water back there in the background. Some of the versions of this also have a group of people in the background, I think usually off to the left, and they are, again, representative of the people in the Quaker tradition that are together for that. So what Advent themes do you, if any, speak to you through this particular painting?